I've got a mild cough, but it's been getting a lot better since I came back from Wuhan, so I should be
Yeah.
okay.
And I'm Chinese, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know each other quite well.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know, Ciara is actually co-anchored on my show on CNBC. And I've watched her in her journey, and now we find her at Huobi. And I guess today we were supposed to speak about security
Yep.
at exchanges. But I want to make the discussion way broader because I think security is one aspect of what makes a good exchange. And I think what's happened is we started at a point where exchanges were anybody could run an exchange. They were unregulated, they didn't have good security, they didn't have good audits. But I think now we're migrating and this industry is becoming more mature. And it takes a lot more to be one of the biggest and one of the best exchanges. Now, I know today there's a lot of talk about who the biggest exchange is, and we'll address that in a couple of seconds and whether the metrics are right. But tell me how you view the maturation of the exchange landscape as it is today.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So people all look at trading volume, but it's if you just give zero fee account to high frequency trader, you can get as many trading volume as you want. So we look at asset under management and revenue, because revenue is just basically a percentage of real trading volume, and that you can't fake, right?
Okay, now the issue with that is that most exchanges don't actually report their revenue. So that's kind of a hidden metric, so to speak, right?
Well, not really. Okay, so for last year, Huobi's revenue is $680 million US, and it's actually really public because we use 20% of our revenue to buy back HT token.
Okay.
Yep.
And so through that mechanism, your revenue is more or less transparent.
Yeah, and it's also for the other exchanges too, for Binance and OKEX. They all use the 20% revenue to buy back their token. Yeah, so in that metric, we're actually almost as twice big as Binance.
So it's quite interesting because I think you mentioned that people talk about exchange size based on trading volume on the one hand. On the other hand, you get all these reports that tell us how exchange volume is faked, for one, how you can manipulate exchange volume. How do you think that exchange volume today, the reported numbers, are actually manipulated or misstated? Is it as linear as fake trades, or is there other ways to do it?
So I see your point. In the earlier days, a lot of the volume are faked because it's one account traded to the other account, all owned by the exchange. But I think now, as I explained earlier, is more like really low fee accounts to other traders who are like not really belong to the exchange, but still is not real. And a lot of fake volumes on altcoins, I'd say. It's really obvious for you to analyze it because if you see an altcoin and the trading volume is bigger than Bitcoin, that's just fake.
Yeah, it's got to be fake at least for a while. So the vanity metrics in this industry are wrong. Everyone's measuring the size of the exchange based on trading volume. You think that it should be more around revenue and assets under management.
Yeah, I think those are two ways, but we should also look at other metrics as well. Like you said, security and how compliant the exchange is.
Okay, so let's actually dig into that. Let's first talk about the metric of assets under management.
Yep.
And because I think that feeds perfectly into security.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you've got this thing about not your keys, not your crypto, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. On the other hand, you want to measure the biggest exchange with the most assets under management.
Right.
What is the message that you as Huobi are sending to the people in terms of, do you think that people should keep their assets on exchanges? Do you think that assets that are managed and looked after by Huobi are safer than those that I look after myself?
So the reason I say it's a better metric to measure which exchange is bigger is because exchange is different than a wallet. Assets put onto the exchange is there for trade. So we all encourage our users to put assets that are not used for trading, maybe to a cold wallet or custodian, and those are options that we also offer as well at Huobi Group. But in terms of asset under management, it's really just more for trading. It shows how much money the customer is putting onto your exchange for trade. And given that, and we really encourage people to look at that metrics, we're going to be showing our cold wallet address.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's your assets under management. I know you are going to show your cold wallet at some stage.
Yeah.
You've told me you're going to do it on my show. I'm very honored. If I were to ask you today,
Yeah.
today we've had a little bit of carnage on the markets the last couple of days. If I were to say to you, put a stake in the ground today, how much money is on Huobi right now? Given that the market cap is about 200 to 220 billion today, how much of that is right now sitting on Huobi?
Yeah, so this is really recent because given the price drop, as of this morning, we have 8.7 billion US dollar worth of assets.
8.7 billion. So 5% of all crypto assets, 4 to 5% of all crypto assets are actually sitting on your exchange at the moment.
Yes.
Wow, that's a serious number.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's actually segue it to what we were actually supposed to speak about today, which is security.
Yeah.
Now, if my memory serves me correct, Huobi is one of the exchanges that has never been hacked. Am I right in that?
Yes, we've never had a major hack in the 6+ years of history at Huobi. You can't see it anywhere.
Okay, now, how? I mean, if you've just said that you're carrying 4 to 5% of all the crypto in the world on your exchange at any one point in time. How is it that you manage to stay so safe?
So we have a really strong system. From the beginning in 2013, when we first found the exchange, our founders have Oracle background, Microsoft background, so they were able to build a strong and safe system. And our current security officer worked as Didi, the Chinese Uber company, so that with Uber, you have to have a very, very strong security system. So with all that effort, I think it's really with the system and technology behind the exchange.
So your CTO, did you say, was at
Chief Security Officer.
Well, Chief Security Officer was Chief Security Officer at Didi.
Yes.
And they manage a lot of credit cards or a lot of bank details and customer profiles. And I think in that industry, like in our industry, a consumer hack can destroy you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about security and how you deal with it? Maybe ratios between hot wallets and cold wallets, how they're managed? Or is that something that you can talk to in front of an audience?
Well, I'd say our tech people may have a better answer to that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can speak in terms of regulations and compliance efforts.
Yes. Okay. So we'll get there. I just want to summarize this whole thing around security. So your track record is that you've never been hacked. I think everyone knows that some of the other big exchanges have been hacked. I think the most prominent of those hacks was probably the Binance hack and then the Bitfinex hack. A lot of people are of the school of thought that rather go with an exchange that has been hacked because they're more guarded than an exchange that hasn't been hacked.
How many times can they take a 7,000 Bitcoin hack? It's very unsustainable, right?
Yeah.
And we were there. Everybody knows, there are tons of assets sit on Huobi, and we are getting hacked every day. They try to hack us every day, 2,000 plus times.
Wow.
Our team work 24/7 just to fight that. It's not that they've never tried. They try every day, every minute, every second.
How big is your security team?
It's big. It's big.
Tens, hundreds?
So our chief security officer managed 200 plus people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a serious operation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about specifically, not really your hacks, but around securing the industry. Now, there are instances where other people in the industry are hacked or where there's rogue wallets that have been involved in some kind of illicit activity. How well do you share information with other exchanges? How do you track that information? How do you share it with other exchanges?
Yeah. So we spent 2 years to develop this system called Star Atlas. It's an on-chain monitoring system. It can track all the malicious transactions accounts and take actions immediately. So last year, the fourth quarter, one of the exchanges got hacked, right? And tons of assets flew into Huobi, and they contact us for help. Of course, we're always there to support. We take action, but even before they reach out to us, Star Atlas already took action to froze all those accounts.
So now you've got these frozen accounts. What do you do with the crypto in those accounts? Hand it over to the authorities, or?
Yeah, so different government authorities from different countries will reach out. So we take, well, it's all the legal team work on that. They ask for request letter, they ask for action to be taken. This is really different, varies by country.
So it does show that the landscape of exchanges is very much maturing. I mean, we went from a place where it was the Wild West, where you could sell crypto on any exchange very quickly. But now what you're saying is you're becoming much more like the traditional finance system where
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that really surprised me. I knew that Huobi is a big company, but I worked for BCG before, and it's more, I'd say it's more like traditional side, very compliant. Everything they do is well organized. But after joining Huobi, I feel the same, really. Same level of professionalism. We are a 1,400 plus people company.
1,400 plus people.
Yeah.
1,400 plus people would make you the biggest exchange by far. I mean,
In terms of employees,
in terms of employees.
yes, I think so.
Wow. Is in the absence of regulation, now we know that crypto exchanges don't have as much regulation as traditional banks and stuff like that. But it certainly seems like more and more we're getting clarity and regulation, and we're getting clarity from different governments. Crypto exchanges are kind of a strange beast because they deal with the same asset across multiple jurisdictions.
Right.
How do you find at the big exchanges, do you find that you guys are over paranoid about compliance? Do you find that you've got more compliance officers than you need, more compliance measures than you need, or do you find like it's still a bit of a gray area?
So as we already know, like a lot of the countries already came with their regulations, policies, and every country we go to, we try to be fully compliant. We're probably the exchange with most license across the world. So Huobi Japan is we got the license in Japan as one of the few foreign exchanges who got it, and Huobi Thailand already got the license. We applied the license for Singapore and Hong Kong, and we got several licenses in the States. So everywhere we go, we try to be fully compliant, and we work with local partners as well. So for Huobi Cloud, it's an exchange solution, and we do joint venture with local partners, say in Argentina, Russia, Indonesia, Thailand, or these are all joint venture exchanges.
Do you operate in any unregulated territories? I mean, is it the exchange policy only to operate in regulated territories, or if there's no regulation in a certain territory, as an exchange, are you open to operating there?
Yeah, yes. It's just wherever it's forbidden, we don't do it, unless we get the license. Yeah.
Okay. And interestingly, I noticed that you guys are not active in the United States, which is one of the biggest markets.
Yeah.
And if I look at the competitive landscape, specifically if we look at Binance, Binance have tailor-made an offering for the United States. Bittrex have tailor-made an offering for the United States. Where do you stand when it comes to United States and US customers?
Yes, so US is definitely the market that we won't give up. And I personally spent 10 years in the States. And I would really want to see us to be a very, very successful exchange to offer products for retails and institutions, but just not now. So for the States, we went for retails in the past, 2 years ago. We spent lots of money getting all the money transmitter license that we need and try to get retail users. But it's hard when you don't have a strong enough branding first in Western market. So this time we're gonna do it in a different way. We're going for institutional clients first. with our institutional business unit with tailored products, especially for institutions. We have the OTC brokerage product, and we're going to be launching our asset management product as well.
OTC asset management and institutional trading.
Yes.
And are you going to, does that mean that you're not going to be open, you're not going to have at all a USA retail offering when you go back?
So if you ask me, in 2 years, where do you sell? Where do you see yourself? We'll be offering all kinds of products for retails, but we're in the process of setting up everything right. And with institutions, we'll be offer the products as you said, and also in a very, very compliant way. Now, because we see the opportunity there. Lots of other competitors, they seem to struggle with being the dominant player for institutions, and we tend to do very good. Last year, we formed this new business unit for institutions, and it's been only running for a year, and now institutional trading volume made up to 42% of total trading volume on Huobi exchange.
So obviously institutional trading volume is much higher because institutions buy bigger sizes. What percentage of your revenue do you think is today derived by institutions?
Around 30%, I'd say.
And operating in the United States, I mean, do you feel that as an exchange today you have enough regulatory clarity? And I think the reason why I ask that is because people like Coinbase and Kraken and some of the others have almost come together and said, look, we've got to go to the regulators to ask them what we can and what we can't do. Do you feel like going back into the US, do you feel you have enough regulatory clarity about what you can and what you can't do?
Yeah, we've spent lots of time in putting our efforts into really understand the regulation policies in the States and trying to now find the best partner for fiat on and off ramps and custodian options. So, but as you said, I really appreciate players like Coinbase. They really push for it and they talk to the regulators, educate them, and it's adding so much value to the industry. Just as of now, I think if we have to choose an audience to speak to, we'll choose institutions and then retails. And then when we're big enough, have more voices in the States, then we'll go for speaking to the regulators and try to, change their minds.
So I must say, and maybe I'm the only one in the audience here that's guilty of this, but I kind of see Huobi as a tale of two sides. You have the Huobi of the East and you have the Huobi of the West. And it sounds to me like you're one of the biggest, if not the biggest exchange worldwide. And therefore you're probably one of the biggest, or if not the biggest in the East. Is your strategy now to come across to the West? I mean, I didn't know that you guys had so many different offerings. You've got lending, staking, everything else. Is your strategy now to come to the West and kind of conquer the West like you have the East?
We are. I'm here. Already sitting here during coronavirus time.
During coronavirus.
You can see we're pretty determined on getting the Western market.
Yeah. So that's amazing. With that in mind, I mean, I know you're in London and, we spent some time together and I've seen you in the US a lot.
Yeah.
Where else? So obviously London is somewhere you have to be as an exchange. We know you're going into the US, albeit for institutional only at the moment. Where else can we expect to see big efforts from you guys?
Turkey. We are getting our fiat on ramps in Turkey, and we also have Huobi Turkey as a local exchange entity set up. Talent, as we already got the license and the fiat on ramp. And we're going to Africa. You take me, right?
I'll take you to Africa. Yeah, we can do a road trip to Nigeria and Kenya and maybe even South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that we can say that 2020 is the year that Huobi comes to the West.
Yes. Yes.
Great. It's been
our top one strategy, globalization.
We'll all look out for it. Thank you very, very much. I think it's been a very enlightening conversation. I've certainly learned a lot about a company which I thought was just an exchange. Thank you very much.
Thank you.